With the 2026 edition of the World Cup expanding to 48 teams, the door is open wider than ever for nations that have never experienced the magic of the World Cup. But which teams could seize this golden opportunity and make history by qualifying for the first time? Let's take a look at the nations that could be set for their World Cup debut in 2026. There is a lot of possible debutants, but I decided to pick out one country from each continent and focus on them. Starting off with Asia, where we have already two teams that qualified, Iran and Japan. We are currently in the third round and there are 18 teams here, split into 3 groups of 6. The best 2 teams from each group will be advancing, with teams in 3rd and 4th going into an extra 4th round, where there are additional places up for grabs for possible debutants, such as Jordan or Bahrain. But it's Uzbekistan who has the highest chance of qualifying to the World Cup from Asia as a new team. Uzbekistan already came close to qualifying on few occasions, most noticeably in 2014 when they lost the 2nd place to South Korea on goal difference. They still had a chance to qualify through the playoffs, but they lost to Jordan on penalties. In 2018 they came close again when, despite some disappointing losses, it was still in their hands in the last game, again against South Korea. Unfortunately they failed to win. At the last 3 Asian Cup tournaments they reached the quarterfinals twice and round of 16 once. I think it's fair to say that they are a team who usually hovers around 6th to 10th place in Asia. Now, with the World Cup expanding and Uzbekistan producing some young players, they are on the way to their first World Cup. They currently sit in 2nd place ahead of United Arab Emirates, who they play in the next game. If they don't lose this match, they will qualify. Even if they do, it will still be all in their hands, as they will have to beat Qatar in the last round. Of course, everybody knows about the Man City wonderkid, Kusanov, but their key player in attack has been Fayzulayev, 21-year-old CSKA Moscow player who has 4 goals and 1 assist this campaign and represented Uzbekistan at the Olympics and Under-20 World Cup. Another key player is a Roma player, Eldor Shomurodov, their captain and all-time top scorer of the Uzbek national team. The World Cup qualifying in Africa sees 54 teams split into 9 groups of 6, with all group winners advancing and 1 more additional place in the playoffs, which is given to the winner of a small tournament between the best 2nd place teams. Few potential debutants are doing really well, like Sudan, who hasn't lost a game yet, or Cape Verde, who are currently top of their group, but I will be focusing on Gabon. Gabon is a small but passionate footballing nation in Central Africa with a population of about 2.5 million people. Gabon has participated in the African Cup of Nations several times, with their best performance coming in 2012 when they lost on penalties, with their biggest legend Aubameyang missing the only penalty. Despite having some talented players over the years, they never managed to qualify for the World Cup. However, their current group of players could be the best in their history. After doing great last season at Marseille, Aubameyang is still scoring goals in Saudi Arabia. Next to him in attack, there is Denis Bouanga, one of the best players in MLS. Behind him, Gabon has Galatasaray midfielder Lemina and Red Stars Kanga, as well as the former Cardiff defender Bruce Manga. Besides these experienced players, they also have a few young players, and they will hope that this mix will help them qualify for the first World Cup. They currently sit in 2nd place with 5 wins and only 1 loss to first Ivory Coast, and after a narrow loss against them in the first leg, they will be hoping to win against them at home in the 2nd match between them. With Canada, Mexico and USA qualifying as hosts, CONCACAF has received 3 places at the World Cup, as well as 2 extra ones for the playoffs. We are currently in the 2nd round, where 30 teams are split into 6 groups of 5, with 2 best teams from each group advancing to the final round. The usual teams such as Panama, Honduras and Costa Rica are some of the favourites, but I think there is a chance for teams such as Suriname, Guatemala, Curacao or Nicaragua to qualify. I believe that the team currently ranked 90th in the FIFA rankings, Curacao has the highest chance of doing that. Curaçao's football history is closely tied to Netherlands Antilles, a former Caribbean territory of the Netherlands. The Netherlands Antilles national team competed in international football until 2010, when the country was dissolved. This resulted in Curaçao becoming a separate FIFA-recognized national team, while other islands formed their own football associations. As Curaçao, they never made it close to the World Cup, never even reaching the final round where USA, Mexico and other top teams play. However, they had some recent success at the CONCACAF Gold Cup, qualifying for 2 tournaments in 2017 and 2019. 2018, even reaching the quarterfinals in 2019. They finished ahead of Honduras and El Salvador in the group stage before losing 1-0 to USA. They also won the final edition of the Caribbean Cup in 2017 for the first time in their history. Their current manager is the well-known Dutch manager Dick Advocaat. They have a wave of Dutch-born players with Caribbean heritage, many of whom have played in Eredivisie and Premier League, such as Leandro Bacuna, Jurgen Locadia or Cuco Martina. In South America, the qualifying is the same as usual. All 10 teams are playing each other home and away. Only difference is now they get 6 teams qualifying and 7th team goes into the Interconfederation playoffs. I don't have to pick between nations for South America, as there is only one nation that could be a possible debutant, Venezuela. Well, if you don't count Suriname or Guyana, who are in South America but are a part of CONCACAF qualifying. Venezuela is one of the best nations in the world in baseball, but they have been lacking success when it comes to football. In the 20th century, they only managed to win 2 out of 52 World Cup qualifying matches. Their performance has improved in the 21st century. They went from being ranked 129th in 1998 to 25th in 2019 in the FIFA ranking. They are the highest ranked nation to never play at the World Cup. Their history at Copa America isn't much better, as their best finish is a 4th place finish in the 2011 tournament, and they are one of the 2 South American nations that never won Copa America, alongside Ecuador. Venezuela started off the qualifying strong with wins against Paraguay and Chile, as well as a draw with Brazil, but in 2024 they only had 3 points in 6 games, before finally getting a win in their latest game against Peru. Venezuela currently sits in 7th place with 4 games to go, which gives them a playoff spot. Their next game will be very important, as they will play 8th placed Bolivia. A win against them should secure the 7th spot and might even allow them to push for a top 6 finish. This is thanks to the mixture of their experienced players like Salomon Rondon and Thomas Rincon, as well as few players from the generation that came second at the 2017 Under-20 World Cup. That team went on a phenomenal run, reaching the final, where they eventually lost to a stacked English team. Moving on to an often forgotten continent, Oceania. Thanks to the World Cup expansion, it now has 1 guaranteed spot and 1 spot in the playoffs. The Oceania World Cup qualifying campaign has finished already, with New Zealand beating New Caledonia in the final. New Zealand of course played previously at the World Cup, but New Caledonia hasn't. They are quite a new member of FIFA, as they joined in 2004. As you can guess, they never came this close to qualifying before. They did manage to cause a big upset though, as in 2012 OFC Nations Cup they defeated New Zealand in the semi-final, but they failed to win the trophy as they lost to Tahiti in the final. New Caledonia is 151st in the FIFA ranking. That's below nations such as Lesotho, Turkmenistan, Faroe Islands or India. Nevertheless, they are 2 games away from qualifying for the World Cup, as by reaching the final of the Oceania qualifiers, they secured themselves a spot in the Intercontinental playoffs. Most of their players play either in New Caledonia or below the 3rd tier in France, but they do have 2 players worth 250,000 each. Jacob Geno, who plays for Beitar Jerusalem in Israel, and Joshua Sotirio, Sydney FC attacker who just switched his allegiance from Australia to New Caledonia this year. Finally, we have the UEFA qualifying. Here, teams are split into 12 groups of 4 or 5 teams, with all the winners qualifying and the remaining 4 spots being decided by the European playoffs. 22 UEFA nations never qualified for the World Cup. Some of them have been doing great in recent years, like Albania, Luxembourg, Kosovo and especially Georgia, but I decided to focus on North Macedonia, as I believe they have the highest chance of qualifying. This might be controversial, as Georgia has been doing great recently, but they are in a really tough group with Spain and Turkey. If they don't finish in the top 2, their dreams of qualifying will be over. Meanwhile, North Macedonia is in a group with Belgium and Wales, both teams which are not as good as they were a few years ago. North Macedonia was very close to beating Wales in their first encounter as well. More importantly, even if North Macedonia fails to finish in the top 2, they will most likely play in the playoffs as one of the best Nations League group winners. After the split from Yugoslavia, they had their first official match in 1993, beating Slovenia 4-1, but they never came close to qualifying for any tournaments until the last few years. First, they qualified for the 2020 Euros, thanks to the Nations League playoffs where they defeated Kosovo and Georgia. After that, they performed great in the 2022 World Cup qualifiers, first finishing second in their group ahead of Romania and Iceland, and then causing a huge upset by eliminating Italy in the playoffs. They were one win away from the World Cup, but sadly for them they lost in the playoffs final to Portugal. Their key players, such as La Liga duo Dimitrievski and Mijovski, as well as Torino midfielder Elif Elmas, will be hoping to cause more upsets and qualify for the World Cup.